Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score, Oklahoma week. This is your second to last regular season Missouri football game. And unfortunately, the last two are on the road. But hey, fortunately, Missouri won its final home game. And now has potential to either close strong, close mediocre, or close sad. I don't know. Nathan Hurst, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. You know, it's nice to have a few days after a fun win. I forgot what that felt like. It felt like it had been a long time. So, been several weeks. So, it's doing all right.
Yeah, and I watch these games minimum of 3 times to catch everything that I want to catch because I'm a monster. But this is one that I've been watching on lunch breaks because it is fun. Watching Ahmad Hardy just run for, we'll call it basically 300 yards. I put in my Beyond the Box score. Then I actually had him down for 296, but that's okay. That's still second most rushing yards in the history of Missouri football, so it's not that big of a deal. Also, I'm not the NCAA, so it doesn't matter what I think. But yeah, this is, of all the ways that you could win, having your star running back go off and your wee baby freshman quarterback not look super dumb is a good way to do it. And your defense got a bunch of big turnovers and big plays. So it was a thorough win. It was a 100% post-game win expectancy. So one of those games where it's like, yeah, this feels really good. And then you see Oklahoma and you see how they had like a 5% win percentage against Alabama, but they did win. Much unlike Missouri, who had a 74% win percentage against Alabama and lost. So you know how the opposite of that feels. But yeah, it's going to be a big week. It's on the road against a former Big 8 foe, depending on how old you are. Maybe our Big 6 foe. We'll see. But we'll get to that in a second. We want to talk about a little flip miss that we had here on the recruiting trail. If you did not see it earlier this afternoon, Jaden McGregory, listed as an athlete. He's from Des Moines, Iowa. He was committed elsewhere, and then he came to Mizzou because he just loves us so much. He's a composite 4-star, 384th best player in the country, 21st best athlete, 4th best player from the state of Iowa. He is 6'2", 195. He becomes the 6th defensive back in Missouri's 2026 recruiting class. Nathan Hurst, watch some tape. Tell me what I need to know.
It hard to really evaluate defensive back tape, especially against Iowa high school football. Yeah. Just because you're really only seeing, this is the case with any highlight reel, is you're only seeing the good plays, but defensive back play, a single defensive back, 90% of the plays, they're not going to be really super involved. So you're only seeing the ones where they're making a play. But that said, he looked really good. He is a big kid, 6'2", likes to come up and play the run, which is good. Very fast, once again, against Iowa high school competition. But he took an interception at the goal line, kind of at the pylon of the goal line, took it back 100 yards. This was from his junior year, 100 yards for a score, where the quarterback and the running back both had probably a 30-yard head start on him to make the angle, and he outran him anyway. So he's got some wheels. Just another big athletic defensive back. It kind of looks like the staff has taken a spray and pray approach. Bring enough guys in. Eventually, you'd hope a couple of them are going to hit. I don't know if there's any baseball fans out there, but back in 2020, the Los Angeles Angels did a whole draft where they did nothing but draft pitchers. They drafted 15 pitchers, no hitters, and it kind of feels like that for this recruiting draft. It's not class. It's not a draft, but we're gonna bring in all the defensive backs, and at least a couple of them are going to end up playing for us if we build the ship out of defensive backs. Some of them will have to hit.
You got Ahmad Billings, Jackson Gates, Tony Forney, Keenan Harris, Bobby Jones, Carter Stewart, and now Jaden McGregory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's like 7 dudes. Now, I know Keenan Harris might be a linebacker, might be a star, but I'm chalking him up to safety. You lose Stephen Hall, Drayden Norwood, Toriano Pride, Dalen Carnell, Jalen Catalon. For sure. They cannot play anymore. That leaves Marvin Burks, Santana Banner, as far as guys who've seen like more than 100 snaps, you do have Mose Phillips, Trajan Greco in the safeties. You do have Nick DeLoach, who's just disappeared this year, and Shamar McNeil,
Yeah.
Karen Keys. So it is thin. It is thin. And, this staff has done really well in the portal with a lot of different positions. I feel like they've done well with corner. Can point to Toriano Pride. He's been good. Maybe not elite, but he's definitely been good. Stephen Hall has been serviceable as a corner, but they are ringing the bell and saying, "Hey, we need as many as we can." And maybe homegrown corners are the way to go. Maybe homegrown defensive backs are better than what you can find in the market. And maybe for this upcoming portal class, I don't know, but it's a focus, and you are going to lose a lot, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to definitely go back into the portal for a few defensive backs, I have to think, because, of all these guys, I think some of them will end up being pretty good, but I would be very surprised if any of the 7 that you just listed off are going to come in and compete for a starting position next year.
Yeah.
And we really only have 2 guys in Burks and Banner that are probably going to be presumed starters next year. So that, and neither of them are cornerbacks. So your cornerbacks are wide open. Nick DeLoach, you'd think, would have a good shot at winning one of those, but you don't know. But they're gonna have to bring in at least a couple of cornerbacks in the portal, plus another safety or 2 as well. So there's going to be a lot of defensive backs on the roster next year, one way or another.
Yeah, but you lose a lot of defensive linemen too. Zion Young, Chris McClellan, Sterling Webb, Damon Wilson's probably going to go. So those are 4 guys right there, and they're only bringing in 1 defensive end and 2 tackles, I want to say. So it doesn't seem like they're doing the same approach. Now, building a lineman takes a lot more time than building a corner. You have freshman corners that can play. You do rarely have a freshman edge rusher maybe that plays, but it's tough to get interior linemen in which you are losing a bunch. So they're not doing it that way. So that maybe that is just, hey, we're portaling that one. We've already written that one off. Linebackers, you're fine. You do lose Jacobs and Newsom, but you're returning Beasley, Rodriguez, Trotter, Huff, King, McClellan, and then you're adding J.J. Bush. So, we're fine there. It's just a different approach, and linemen are more important than secondary or skilled players. So maybe you do want to make sure you're getting a more sure thing on the line, and that's why they're not focusing on that as heavily on the high school recruiting, even though they are taking 3 guys. So it's interesting, and you got so much money and scholarship spots to dole out. I trust them with it so far, but I think we're good on defensive backs. Can we cram one more in there from the high school ranks? Can we do one more?
I would prefer a different position if
Same.
they're gonna bring any more.
Yeah.
Probably, as you mentioned, defensive line would be great. Offensive line, always great.
Yep.
Another wide receiver would be great. So,
Yeah.
and it sounds like they're at least in the process of trying to recruit another quarterback too, which would be really interesting to have 2 quarterbacks in a class. But haven't heard a lot in the last couple of weeks. And on that front, they do have Gavin Sidwar, who was the first commitment of the class, and it doesn't seem like he's been wavering at all. So it'd be interesting to see if they choose or are able to bring in a second quarterback.
Yeah. And of course, I don't want to forget DeMarcus Johnson, the number 1 JUCO player, is defensive tackle, so he's coming in too. But to your point, Rocco Marriott, whose dad was a defensive lineman, actually the first player drafted in the new millennium. He went to the Patriots in the year 2000 draft. I don't know. I don't know. It's just hey, I mean, he's been blowing up, so obviously he's very good. And he's been on campus, and we'll see. We'll see. His dad seems pretty committed to was it East Carolina?
James Madison.
James Madison
is currently committed to, and their coach very well may be moving on to another better job.
Not Virginia Tech though.
No, but he's a pretty hot name. So my guess is he might be waiting on in a couple of weeks, is Eli Drinkwitz even going to still be here?
Yeah.
And B, is his where does his coach at James Madison end up, and does he follow him there? There's a lot of options for him, so he's probably might be smart to wait a week or two. Not that commitments are binding by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. Bob Chesney's a hell of a coach, but yeah, maybe maybe he's a quarterback who he can take at James Madison and not at his new spot. Um, and Eli Drinkwitz talked again this week about uh, his potential job offers and everything, and he's kind of citing the statement that he made earlier in the week. He's committed to Mizzou. He's here. He loves this place. He's focused on Oklahoma. But he is willing to tell you what he's looking for in a job. It's nothing crazy. He's looking for university buy-in. Alignment, I think, is the popular term to use. Making sure that there's enough NIL. Make sure you're maximizing your rev share, and making sure that you have enough funding to bring in good assistants and good coordinators. I mean, this is duh. This is all bland stuff that you can assume is true. But he's saying the right things. He's not saying the thing that you want to hear, but he's also not going to say that because he's got leverage in this position. He's looking for a little bit more than what he's currently got. And credit the university; they've been very good at providing him all the things that he has asked for so far. So I'm assuming that they're able to do something close to that. And but I don't know. I mean, this is such a talk radio thing, but I'm going to ask it anyway because we are talk radio. How do you feel about Eli Drinkwitz's most recent comments, Nathan Hurst?
Yeah, I mean, he said what he had to say. There was nothing else for him to say. That would, what else is he going to say? Short of, I'm staying here and I'm signing in front of you, media, my contract extension right here. That's the only, or I'm going to X program. I'm goodbye, see a piece. I mean, those are the three different things he could say. And he chose a middle route, which is, for him, the smart route to go right now. Really, I think what it comes down to is, and he's said this, he's getting paid enough. I don't think he's really looking to get a big raise here. He just got his assistants a big raise in this most recent contract extension this past summer. So I think he probably feels like his assistants are well compensated. I think reading between the lines, and not really even reading between the lines, he said it. What he's looking for now is a proof, or at least a commitment, that he's going to get the NIL support here that he could get at other places. And I think he did that because he was downplaying a little bit the current NIL situation at Mizzou, which you hear all over for the last several years that Mizzou's doing great in NIL. And I think we're competitive in NIL, but he's saying we weren't top 10 in this past year. And I think the issue with that is, at least from Mizzou's perspective, is that's something that Mizzou actually can't control. They can pay him his salary as much as he wants. They can pay his assistants' salaries. They can fully fund the rev share, which they are doing. NIL is entirely dependent on money coming in from external sources. And they could go out and pitch and sell and try and do all that they can to bring in that outside money. But ultimately, the decision for that outside money is coming from outside the university. So it's going to come down to, does Drinkwitz think that those outside sources, those businesses, those as he mentioned, the Fortune 500 companies in St. Louis and Kansas City, are those places going to pony up to a degree, or at least indicate that they are willing to down the road pony up to support NIL in a way that if he were to go to a Florida or a Penn State or an LSU, they have those types of corporations in the bag already that are going to or have indicated that they will support that. So, that's the challenge here. Like at this point, there's not a whole lot Mizzou can offer him other than we're going to keep pitching these companies. There's all these big corporations, these massive global corporations in St. Louis and Kansas City. They've got a whole lot of money. We'll keep pitching them for you, but ultimately it's not up to us. It's up to them to make that decision, and that's the challenge.
Yeah. I get it. One thing that is in Missouri's favor, and it's in the favor of other schools like Arkansas or LSU, where you're the only school in town. I understand that Missouri State's down the road, but are there more businesses in Florida? Sure. There's more people. Does that mean there's more money there? Yes, that does. How many other schools are at the D1 level and the FBS level? There's 9, right? Can't do them all. You know, if you're at the University of Florida, you don't have access to all that. Same if you're at Auburn. There's also Alabama, Penn State. Well, guess what? There's Pittsburgh, and also, oh, by the way, there's also Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and they have pro sports. Um, eh, Fortune 500 companies, if that's the metric that you want to use, they have a ton of money. They don't have endless money. And they're going to spend in a manner where it makes the most sense for them. Now, I think what you can point to, at least when it comes to corporate spending, is that a lot of that is not just slapping an Edward Jones sign on construction, or having Centene like sponsor a scholarship or something like that. It's getting those people to games in really comfortable environments. And that's why they're moving more towards luxury suites. So you can host more C-suite folks who enjoy coming to the game and enjoy bringing their kids to the game and bring clients to the game. And it's an event. And like, yes, you're going to be having to drive to Columbia, but like you make it worth their while. That's how you do it. And I think that's what the university is doing. And in order to kind of be a little bit more appealing to that sort of crowd and that sort of spending, you get someone to commit to a luxury box for 5 years. Hey, that's a lot of money up front that you can just lock in and you can roll off of. And they get to watch the game for 5 years, which, for you, now that's a tangible thing that you can give them. That doesn't cost you a lot, but you can get a lot out of it. So I think that's what they're trying to do. And I don't know how it's going to work. But I think that's something you could point to as, hey, Drink, we're trying.
Yeah. And getting them in the door is important. And that's a lot of revenue that those boxes generate for the university. The issue is that isn't NIL. That they're capped. They are capped at that 20.1, whatever that 20.5, whatever that number was that they agreed in the settlement, $1 million a year for rev share. So they've maxed that out already. The NIL money coming in from outside sources, that's money that theoretically goes from the company directly to the athlete. It's not, there's no middleman with the university there that they can pipe it through.
For sure.
So the money through the boxes is great. They can use that to do a whole bunch of stuff with, but it's not paying the players up above what they already are.
But then you get them interested in the game, and that's a tough ask.
Right.
But
that gets them in the door. That gets them in the door.
Yeah.
And then if they are vibing with the environment and hey, this team is fun, and hey, or hey, there's a lot of potential clients here or customer base here or throughout the state of with Mizzou fans. That's when you can start hard selling them on ponying up even more through the NIL space. But
exactly,
it's a challenge. It's a challenge, especially historically. Mizzou hasn't had the most engaged with businesses on the other side of the state. It just hasn't been, for whatever reason, going back probably to the 80s when they took a little step back in terms of supporting athletics in general at the university level. That kind of put the Mizzou behind a lot of these other flagship universities that they've been working really hard for the last 30 plus years to catch up to. But it's not quite there. Penn State, for example, very similar in terms of its geographic layout, 2 large metro areas on either side of the state. Yes, they have some more competition with in-state FBS programs, but they're still the top dog in that state. And they've got big, massive areas on either side, and they're much more engaged in both of those cities in terms of getting that business support. That Mizzou just hasn't been able to quite tap in, and maybe this is a pathway there. Maybe a challenge from Drinkwitz is what is needed to get those guys, to pony up a little bit more. Yeah. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and it's not just flipping a switch; it takes time. And I'm assuming that they just did not start when he said it. To Tom Hart pre-broadcast. So I'm sure it's been a work in progress, but that's what he's looking for. And it makes a lot of sense. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But enough about the business side, boring business side of football. Let's talk about football. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Oklahoma. Ugh, man. Oklahoma's good. Let's get that out of the way. It is one of the better defenses in the country. Probably the best that Missouri is going to see. If not Alabama or Auburn, it's definitely Oklahoma. You have not beaten Oklahoma as a school since the 1960s. Technically, you've got a forfeit in there in the 70s, but we're not going to count that because that's silly. We're not cops here. Um, yeah, Oklahoma has not looked impressive in conference play, have not looked dominant in conference play. Maybe I should put it that way. But they're really good at winning at the margins, the little things. That's why I put the little things report card on my Beyond the Box score. They're good at that stuff. They return kicks for long distances. They will, either not turn it over or win it by one. Their average starting field position is a lot better than their opponents. They're able to convert third downs a little bit better than you can, better at yards per play. These sorts of boring things that you overlook, they're good at, and their offense isn't great, with John Mateer, but it's good enough to pair with that defense to win games and win games when you're at the 5% post-game win expectancy. So that's what you can expect. When you're looking at Oklahoma, what worries you the most about this game?
Their defensive line is terrifying.
Yeah.
And it worries me a lot that you're looking at least at this point, most likely a true freshman quarterback trying to operate at all against that defensive line. Mm-hmm. And that extends to their linebackers as well. Their front seven is really, really good. They're probably, if not as good as Auburn, better than Auburn's front seven, just because they're more motivated. they know that they have a chance to win the games that they're playing. It's that true freshman quarterback versus that front, and how are they going to be able to protect the ball? That's the only reason that Oklahoma beat Alabama last week, is they got a much more experienced and frankly a lot better quarterback to turn the ball over a few times in Alabama. And what are they going to do at home to Matt Zollers? It makes me a little worried.
Yeah, here's the thing. We saw what Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts did against Auburn's defensive front. It sucked. It sucked. They didn't do much. And it's going to be the case here as well. Now, the good news is that despite everything showing you how dominant that Oklahoma is, there is something that a little sliver of hope, right? A little scratch in the armor. If you can get past the defensive line, you're going to go a long way. The secondary is good in pass coverage, maybe even great. Not very good tacklers, not super havoc-y. That's where you need to get. You need to get away from the front seven. Because that defensive line, by themselves, 25.5 sacks on the year. Linebackers are responsible for over 48% of the run stuffs, which is insane given that it's 4 dudes. If you're trying to play the zone blocking game in a phone booth, even our Yak Kane, Ahmad Hardy, he's going to fail. These guys hit you and you go down. Most astonishing stat I saw is that opposing running backs against Oklahoma average 0 yards before contact. 0. As in they get the ball and then they get hit. That's how it works. But if you cannot get hit, which I know we just said, if you can get past the line and the linebackers, you're going a long way. The average yards per rush that Oklahoma gives up is 3.4. The average yards per successful rush, 10.3. That is the largest chasm I could find amongst top 25 defenses. If you can get through them, you are gone. The problem is that you can't get through them. So, Hurst, we need a game plan of corners. Spread it out. We're going to do a lot of quick passes to the side, and we're going to do a lot of wide zone running to try and get a corner or a safety to tackle you instead of a member of the front set. Can we, do you think Missouri can do it?
It really comes down to, are they going to actually attempt it? Because they have not shown the willingness to lean on the screen game and the quick passing game much at all, even with the change in quarterback. That's the first way, or the best way, the only way I could see them to move the ball at least enough to soften the front seven up enough, get the linebackers spread out enough to worry about the edges, to be able to run up the middle at all, is to hit the edges real fast, bubble screens. They never run bubble. They have that weird kind of like fake bubble screen that goes short instead of long. That's the only type of bubble screen they've run all season. They're gonna have to put a couple more in
Run
there.
it. Run it.
But they're get the ball out on the edge however they can.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the idea of getting the ball in Josh Manning's hands. He's really good after the catch in terms of breaking tackles. We saw that last week. Donovan Olubade, big guy. Even Brett Norfleet, get him the ball out on the edge. Force, as you said, their secondary to make tackles, because even if it takes 2 or 3 guys to bring a receiver down, you're gaining 7-8 yards on that play. That's as good as a successful run. And then you can come back, and then you're looking at 2nd and 3, which is much more manageable than 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, which is what it's going to be like if they're going to run their traditional run game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the offensive side, I like John Mateer a lot at Washington State. I even said in my preview, I hope he has a great season and then loses to Mizzou. I like him, and I like the way he plays. A little bit of reckless abandon. If he was my quarterback, I'd be like holding my breath every time he took off, because he's just like, wee, let's go, and like takes as many hits as he can. But he's fun. He's a good college quarterback. Oklahoma's offense is an anomaly, I feel like, in 2025. This is the one offense that Missouri is going up against that actually isn't very good at generating explosive plays, which you're like, oh, thank God. Finally, someone who's not very good at that. Now, Missouri's defense is good at allowing it, so, movable force, resistible object, that sort of thing. But this is a team that had super good at running. John Mateer usually does it. And Missouri's been good at kind of corralling those mobile quarterbacks. And before you say anything, I know Blake Shapen scored 2 times. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's not. They ran him a lot, but he's not good at it. That's why it worked. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself. They have a freshman running back who's fine. He basically splits the same amount of carries as Mateer. Obviously, their receivers are very good. Deion Burks is very good. Keontae Lewis, East St. Louis kid, he's very good. Isaiah Sategna, though, is like the one guy who's got the most targets and the most yards. And, Trey Norwood's been pretty good at locking down the one guy for the past couple of weeks. So, I don't know. This has got the makings of like last year's game where it was it 10-3 at the end of the third quarter, and then it exploded. Like, I'm not worried about Oklahoma's offense, and I feel like those are like famous last words. How do you feel about Mateer and his boys?
No, not particularly worried either. If I had thought that there was going to be an opportunity for Mizzou to score more than 17 points on the other side. Yeah. This really, Oklahoma overall, I think, is the kind of plutonic ideal of how this current Mizzou roster could perform.
Yeah.
The way that this Mizzou team is built, this Oklahoma is a better, more talented, slightly more talented, but probably better game managed version of that. Where they're ball control. They don't have a lot of explosive plays. They control the ball, control the time of possession, because their defense gets off the field really fast. And then they score when their defense forces a turnover and gives them a short field. And they've got a really good kicker who will probably win the Grozo Award. So don't be shocked if this is like Oklahoma wins 15-7 and they've kicked 5 48-yard field goals.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how they win. That's how they beat Alabama. They forced turnovers and they got a lot of field goals. Mm-hmm. That's how they beat Tennessee, is they, got enough stops and kicked a lot of field goals. So that's what they're going to be looking to do. So maybe maybe it'll be a windy day in Norman. Those aren't unheard of. But otherwise I'm, not super terrified of the way that they move the offense. I mean, Mateer, not super efficient, 64% passing, completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's been sacked 18 times. So he's very mobile, but he will also run around trying to make plays and, can get caught. And he'll also make some weird decisions and chuck the ball into traffic. So he's more than willing to give you the ball as well, if you're willing to take it. And that's really going to be the path. The path for Mizzou here is they're going to have to protect the ball, which will be very difficult to do, and force some turnovers, get short fields, make the field goals that they have to attempt, but preferably actually finish off those scoring drives with touchdowns, because they're not going to out-kick Oklahoma.
No. Unfortunately, no. I do think that makes, Eli Drinkwitz's decision chart a little bit better. Like, hey, we're not going to try a field goal from 40 plus out. We got to get to inside the 20. and crap, we're inside the 20. We might as well try and go for a touchdown. Like it simplifies the decision tree a little bit. And I think he can outthink himself occasionally.
And to be honest, he has never done this, but I mean, if a field goal is outside of 40 and it's not at the end of the game and a field goal ties or wins the game, he needs to punt. If it's a fourth and long, if it's 4th and 8, 4th and 10, he needs to punt and try to pin Oklahoma back, because giving them the ball on the 3 or the 5 yard line and making that offense move against who doesn't generate explosive plays against the defense that does not give up sustained drives, and then hopefully get a 3 and out and get the ball back, and you're at worst right back where you started. He needs to seriously consider doing that and making this a field position game. It's not something he almost ever does. He did it a little bit against Iowa, I think, in the bowl game, but he needs to strongly consider that. If it's 4th and 5, go for it. But 4th and 8, 4th and any longer than that, pin them deep. Don't even try the field goal. Because if you miss it, they're getting the ball at the 30, 35 yard line. Kick a touchback. Worst case scenario, they're getting the ball at the 20. So that's an extra first down plus farther down.
It's not a bad idea. It's a good point. I mean, at this point, we're so far progressed that, going for it not only is in vogue, but seems to be the kind of, that's the choice you make. That's what most coaches are making at this point. Bunting is reserved for Kirk Ferentz and all the dinosaurs from pre-2000. But you got a point. The offense struggles to generate explosives, and, they're not, they're feeling the pressure of a top-ranked team at home. It's not a bad idea, see what happens.
I mean, it's, of course, game script dependent. I mean,
for sure.
If Oklahoma is moving the ball at ease, then you're going to have to be more aggressive for sure. But if it goes how I expect it to go, and it's going to be, a real mucked up, punch you in the face, bare knuckle boxing kind of game, field position can go a long way. Because then you force a turnover on their 5, that's a touchdown, as opposed to forcing a turnover in the midfield. Then you've got to still get several first downs even to get in the scoring position. So, I would advocate being as conservative as the game script allows, because your defense is your strength here, and that's how they're not going to win this game with their offense. They're going to win it with their defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I'm lost in my thoughts on how you can go about that. All right, so Missouri is 9-16 on the road under Eli Drinkwitz. I think that's right. I just did it this morning. Yep, 9-16 on the road. They are 1-10 against top 10 opponents. Can you name the one victory over a top 10 opponent? Do you remember?
On the road?
Not on the road, just over a top 10 opponent.
Oh. Well, I mean, was Tennessee? No, Tennessee wasn't top 10 when they played them, was it? Oh, well, Ohio State in the bowl game.
Hey, Ohio State. That's the one. It's the one top 10 victory he's had. So 1-10 against top 10 teams, 9-16 on teams on the road, the top 10 team on the road. What do you think happens? Give me a score.
I think... it's going to be too tough. This defense is in Norman, too scary. It's going to be low scoring. We kind of both predicted the high scoring Mississippi State game last week. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be knockdown, drag out. I think a couple turnovers are going to potentially do the Tigers in. Oklahoma will kick some field goals. It's going to be something like a weird score, like a 19-10 sort of thing.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe 19-13. So low scoring. I would be shocked if both teams scored more than 20 points. To be honest, I'm a little surprised if either team scored over 20 points, unless there's like a pick 6 here or there.
Yeah, I think 20 is the number to win. I think Oklahoma takes it 21-17 is what I'm going to say. Show me you can win on the road reliably, and show me more than one top 10 victory. Then we'll start talking about realistic expectations of winning these sorts of games. But you don't have to win this one. You got to win the next one, right? Arkansas. That's the one that we really want to win. Although beating Oklahoma would be great.
I would take this one over that one.
There is technically a trophy, the Peace Pipe. Yeah. Don't know where it is. Don't know where we put it, but it's technically there. So remind him that, because he loves merchandise.
It might. Well, no. I guess the happy grass is legal in Oklahoma too, isn't it? So I was going to say it might have to stay here, but I think it's legal in both states at this point.
I think it is. Yeah. It smells like crap in Oklahoma all the time. So if you are smoking it, I couldn't tell you because it smells like cow.
excuse me, I was ill-informed. Cannabis is illegal for recreational use in Oklahoma. So maybe we'll just hold on to the peace pipe here in the land of liberty.
What a bunch of nerds. Oh my God. All right. Don't toke up after a victory, Eli. Everybody, don't do it.
That's a worry.
I don't think so either. But yeah, we will get back to you on post-game stuff probably on that Sunday, and we'll talk about whatever it is the heck that happened. And you can follow all the stuff that we do on rockmnation.com. You can follow us for recruiting updates like we had today, assessment on the football team. Of course, basketball is picking up, gymnastics, all sorts of good stuff that's going on. So check out the website. We got good stuff there. But that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Nate G. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. Of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
ZOU.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.